So this is actually one of my most requested videos, and I've never made a video on making bacon. Making bacon, it's just kind of fun to say making bacon. Now I've made bacon before. It's just one of those things that if you do this at home and you can create the flavors you want in the bacon, it's amazing. Now this is not a one-day process, this is a multi-day process. You know, the first thing we're gonna do here is get our cure ready for the bacon. Now, there's different methods of making bacon. The curing method is one, and that's what I'm doing today. Curing basically helps prevent bacteria from growing and gives flavor to the bacon. Now, when you're doing this, it's important to follow different directions and measurements based upon the weight of the piece of meat you're using. I've got 11 pounds of pork belly, and pork belly is the basis for making bacon. Now, you're gonna find different ratios if you look online of how much curing salt to use. Curing salt is a pink curing salt #1. I'm using 0.25%, which means if you have 11 pounds of bacon, which is roughly 4,989 grams, you're gonna be using 0.25% of that, which is about 13 grams of pink curing salt. And that pink curing salt is gonna go in with the rest of our ingredients. Now really quickly, pink curing salt is not just salt. You don't just eat that. It can actually poison you if you eat it straight. It's pink to distinguish it from regular table salt. Now I'm gonna be doing 2 different flavors of bacon today. I've got my 11-pound slab of pork belly divided in 2. One of them is gonna be a pretty straightforward, sort of a little bit peppery bacon. The other one is gonna have the addition of some Hatch chili pepper flakes, so a little bit of heat to it. So we're gonna make the basic cure first and then divide that in 2. Now I have a little bowl here just to mix the cure in, and it's on my scale. Now let's turn our scale on. I'm gonna put the bowl on here. I know you probably can't see that, but it says 202 grams. So I know this bowl is 202 grams. So when we have all the cure together and I wanna divide it in 2, I know that I can subtract 202 from that weight, and that will give me the weight of the cure that I have. First ingredient is 124 grams of salt. I'm using kosher salt. Now comes our cure, roughly 13 grams of pink curing salt, #1. Sometimes it's called Prague powder. #2 is usually used for things like salami, dried meats, things that you're gonna be drying. I've got 49 grams of brown sugar and 11 grams of ground black pepper. I'm just gonna mix this all together in here. And if you got a couple little chunks of brown sugar that's stuck together in there, don't worry about that. All right, we're gonna weigh this now, but you might say, well, why don't you just add all the grams and everything together that it was and subtract the bowl? Well, you know, a little bit spilled out. Let's look and see what we actually have. So we have 402 grams minus the 202 grams for the bowl. 200 grams, we're gonna split this into 2 100-gram portions, and then I'm gonna add my pepper flakes to one of those. So I've got my scale here, and I'm just gonna go ahead and turn it on. Putting a little deli container on there, we can see that is 28 grams, but now I can just zero this out by hitting this button, tare, T-A-R-E. So now it's 0 grams, anything I add there is just gonna be measured as the weight of what I'm adding. So I want 100 grams of cure in here. 96, 100, whoop, 99, give it a little, 100. So now the rest will go in another container, that'll be 100 grams, but here now I'm gonna add my chili flakes. And I'm adding 8 grams of some red and green Hatch chili flakes. And just give this a good shake. There we go. All right, let's get our pork belly out here and get it seasoned up. So here is 1 slab of our pork belly. It was an 11-pound slab, which is pretty wide. This is about 5.5 pounds here. I'm just gonna go ahead and get the cure, the seasoning on this, and I'm gonna do this one as just the basic one, the one without those chili flakes, so that when I move the chili flake one over here to put that on there, if I did it reverse, I might get chili flakes on this one, so we're doing the regular first. And I'm just gonna shake this on, move it around, kind of massage it a little bit. And now let me just show you on the back real quick here. This is just the fat, there's no skin left. Sometimes you'll get a pork belly and there'll be pig skin on it still. You'll have to trim that off if you do, but honestly, most of the time, in fact, I can never remember a time when I've purchased pork belly and had the skin still attached. Maybe if you get it directly from the butcher and that's how they do it, you might, but this is just the fat. Another thing is sometimes people will score this, put diagonal cuts through it, a little diamond pattern, but I don't like doing that because that's not really how bacon looks when you get it from the store. It hasn't been scored, so I like to do it this way. So I'm just gonna start shaking some on here. And just kind of rub it around, get it into the meat. Let's get our backside. And there's gonna be pieces falling off, and we're gonna push those back into the meat, get everything covered on here. Let's get our edge here. Just wanna kind of gather all this extra here. Get as much of it as I can on here. If you want, you could do this with a shaker. And there's lots of different flavors you could do in something like this. It's really up to you beyond just that basic cure. I mean, really the basic cure is the pink curing salt and the salt and sometimes sugar. But you can add, gosh, just about anything. People put, cumin to get sort of a southwestern flavor sometimes. That's pretty intense to me. You can add juniper berries that have been ground up. You could add sage, all sorts of things you can do. All right, now this is gonna go in a Ziploc bag, and then we're gonna move on to our second one. We've got our second 5.5 pound piece of pork belly here. And one thing I wanna mention is I know some people, they also do like a maple glaze on this. So if you wanted a little bit of maple flavor, you could rub some maple syrup on here. It's a nice contrast with some of the heat too. But we're going with a little bit of straight heat today. You can see those chili pepper flakes in here. Same thing, we'll gather up some of the excess that didn't get on the meat, just put it on there. Kind of rub that in. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get this into a Ziploc, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about the process from this point forward. So I have each bag on a rimmed tray. Now, this is just in case you get some leakage. There will be juice that comes out of these. Moisture will be pulled out of the bacon. That's part of the curing process. You wanna make sure that your bags are sealed tight. And one of the things is, you see how this sort of flap can go over this way, and if you did get some leakage, it could come out over here. I just like to take a little plate, something small, put it on top. That just keeps that opening up here so you have less of a chance of leakage coming out. Now this is gonna go in the refrigerator, it has to go in the refrigerator, and it's gonna take about 7 days. You can go longer, but I'm shooting for 7 days. After 7 days, we're going to take this out. We're going to brush off a lot of the excess seasoning on the outside. We're not gonna rinse it. Some people rinse it. I don't like to rinse it. I like to just knock off the excess. And then it's gonna go back in the refrigerator, uncovered on a tray with a rack in it for 24 hours just to sort of firm up, and it creates almost a little surface skin on it. They call it a pellicle. So this is going in the refrigerator. I'll see you in about 7 days. So our bacon has been curing for 7 days. Now what we need to do is take it out of those Ziploc bags that it's been in and kind of pat it dry. Knock off some of the extra seasoning. A lot of people will rinse it. I think I mentioned that earlier in the video. I don't like to do that. I just want to knock off the excess and get the moisture that's really on the surface off as much as possible. And then we're gonna put it on the trays with a rack on it so that it's up off the bottom. Now I'm gonna start with the bacon that has just that base sort of cure on it. Get this out here. And if you touch this, you'll feel that it's firmer than when we started. You don't want it to be mushy. I'm just gonna dry here, and any of the seasoning that falls off, that's fine, but I'm not gonna like try and wipe this off. I want that on the surface. Some of my favorite bacon when I go to a store and buy bacon are the ones that have those flavorings like jalapenos and things on it, where it's nice dried little bits on the surface. I love that. Get this side here dried off. And now for our Hatch chili bacon. Oh, that's looking good. That's feeling good and firm. And again, I'm just trying to knock off any super loose bits of seasoning and get some moisture off the surface here. Now, if this didn't look very different from the other bacon, I would mark it somehow, put a toothpick in it, so that when it came time to smoke it, I wouldn't confuse them after it was done. But this has enough of that chili flake on the surface that I don't think we're gonna have a problem there. So here we have both of our slabs of pork belly that is gonna become bacon pretty soon. We've done the cure. Now it's just gonna go one more night in the refrigerator, uncovered, dry out, create that pellicle, and then tomorrow we're gonna smoke it up using Applewood out on the grill. So now before we can enjoy our bacon, we need to smoke it. So it's been in the refrigerator overnight, developing that sort of pellicle, the skin on the outside. It's just almost like a filmy surface covering. And that can help with smoke adhering to the surface. I know you'll hear some people saying it doesn't work. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but I find it does work. So I have the Camp Chef Woodwind Wi-Fi 24 set to 200 degrees, and we're gonna go until we get to an internal temperature of about 150 degrees. Now I'm burning Applewood pellets today for some Applewood smoked bacon. So let's go ahead and get our cured pork belly on there and smoke it into some bacon. It's gonna be a tight fit, but we'll make it work. And this is actually the jerky rack for the Camp Chef that I'm using. It's perfect for the bacon. Keeps it up off the hot grill plate down there. Works well. I'm using a needle probe today for the ThermalWorks Smoke X4. And I'm just gonna try and get it in here. It's not gonna be dead center, but this bacon is, an inch and a half. So it's not gonna be terribly thick and terribly long cook. And once we hit 150 degrees, I'll just be taking that inside. We'll let it cool for just a little bit, then we're gonna slice it up, fry up some, and make some BLTs. So we hit 150 degrees internal, and here is our bacon. Now, I said outside we were gonna bring it in, just let it cool a little bit and then slice it, changing plans. I'm actually gonna let this chill overnight. First, it's gonna come down to room temperature. It's probably gonna take about 30 minutes. Then I'm gonna wrap it in plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator overnight. I'm gonna wrap it tightly in plastic wrap to help retain some of that moisture. You don't want it to dry out too much. It'll chill down nicely in the refrigerator overnight and we'll get good slices tomorrow. I'm not gonna use my slicer, my electric slicer, because in all honesty, the thing's a pain to clean once you use it. So we're gonna be doing this as if you don't have a slicer, because most people don't. You can get good slices, you just have to take your time. And this is the hot smoking method. It's not a cold smoking method. A lot of the bacon you buy commercially, that's cold smoked. This is the easier way to do this at home. You can cold smoke, but it takes a longer time. You have to make sure you maintain a cold temperature in between smoking sessions because you do not want the bacon to go bad. You don't want it to spoil. This way, you are actually cooking it to a safe temperature, that 145, 150 degrees, and then slicing it and frying it up. So this is really the simpler way to do it at home. You could also take the cured bacon before you even smoke it, slice it and fry that up. That's fine too. You just gotta keep it cold at every stage before you cook it. So this is gonna get chilled down, and I'll see you tomorrow when we actually slice it up and make some really delicious BLTs. Well, here is our bacon. This is one of the slabs. I have the Hatch chili bacon off to the side. I'm gonna slice some of that up off camera. But this is looking really good, nice and firm. It's chilled down overnight. And in case I didn't mention it earlier in the video, when this goes into the refrigerator that first time in the Ziploc bag after we've put the cure on it, you wanna turn that bag every day. So in the 7-day cure, you're just gonna turn it 7 times. And that just helps distribute the liquid that's in there that gets pulled out so you don't have part of it just laying in the liquid. It just helps an even cure happen. And like I said, with this, I could have pulled out my slicer, but that thing's a pain to clean, and not everybody has a slicer, but pretty much everybody has a knife. I'm using my long slicer knife today. This is the one I usually use with brisket, but any knife you have will work. And especially if it's really chilled down like this. You could even put this in the freezer for say 15, 20 minutes to firm up even more and help you get some good slices. We're gonna first get this end piece off. Nothing wrong with it. I can cook that up and eat that too, but I wanna get to the inside. Ah, there is some nice looking bacon in there. Look at that inside. But now let's get some slices because we're gonna fry some of these up for a BLT. And after I get a few slices, what I'm actually gonna do is portion this down. I'm gonna vacuum seal it and freeze it, basically in about 1 pound sections. Some are gonna be a full length 1 pound, the other are gonna be cut in half because honestly, when you're doing things like bacon for burgers or for BLTs, you're not really using the whole piece, you're using a half piece. So storing it's a little bit easier that way in a vacuum sealed bag. But let's get some slices here. Oh, look at that. Just trying to get, not super thin, not super thick. This is a great thing about making your own bacon. You can make the slices as thick as you want. That is looking good. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, portion this out, get it in some vacuum sealed bags and in the freezer, and then we're gonna fry up some bacon and make some BLTs. Well, here is a small plate of bacon, most of it cooked to AFS. If you watch my videos where I cook bacon, you know that's how I like my bacon, AFS, acceptable floppy state. I'm not into really crunchy bacon, although some of these are a little bit more crunchy. If I snapped that one, see, it snapped. And this is a mixture of both the regular bacon and the Hatch chili bacon. I'm gonna go ahead and build a BLT, but first, I'll take a little taste of this piece I just broke. Let's see. That was some of the Hatch. I got a little bit of the heat, but the thing I can really say about this is fresh. It tastes fresh. It tastes not processed. It tastes like you made it. And that's what's so fun about making your own bacon. Not just getting those flavors you want, but just knowing that it's as fresh as it can possibly be. Let's go ahead and build a BLT. So I have a pretzel bun I'm gonna be using today. I'm gonna start with some lettuce on the bottom. We're gonna get our L on there first. And then our B, we're gonna pile some bacon on here today. And I'm not gonna be stingy with it. I'm gonna see how much I can get on here. Get another piece there, maybe one more. And then some tomato on top there. Now that's a classic BLT, nothing else added, no mayo, nothing. We're going strictly with that, and let's crown it. And I'm gonna dive in. When you consider the curing process, the chilling process, the smoking process, and some more chilling process, slicing and cooking, I've spent about 10 days making this sandwich, so I'm gonna enjoy it. Here we go. That is one great BLT. When you're eating the bacon with other things, the lettuce, the tomato, the bread, that smoke flavor is coming out now. That Applewood smoke flavor is fantastic. Now in the long run, is making your own bacon cheaper than buying bacon? Probably not, unless you get super good deals on pork belly, but sometimes that reward is worth the extra little expense. This is time plus the pork belly, and the ingredients you use are not that expensive. And man, let me tell you, this is a fantastic sandwich.